right, coming at you with another video for the day. Cultural appropriation, hot topic. Today I had a discussion on Facebook. I'm going to go ahead and post some of that topic on Facebook. But look at the picture on your screen. We have a couple of ladies of non-African descent wearing African cloth. And the caption, "We can't have nothing for ourselves." Shaking my head. Here's a capture from some comments under this picture. "Wish they would just effing stop already." And here's a comment I made. "While we wear denim, dress suits, high heels, khakis, Nikes, t-shirts, Timbs, etc. Heck, most of us wouldn't be caught dead in African prints. If we wear theirs, why can't Africans sell to them?" I want to talk to you about cultural appropriation and this notion of culture somehow being appropriated by one group, which when black people say cultural appropriation, they're talking about Europeans taking it mainly. So let's get into this a little bit. All right, so looking at the next comment that this individual made, she puts, "White people do this to every culture though. Indian clothes were a thing, and so were Chinese fashions. This is nothing new. White people Columbusizing, or Columbusizing, I guess she meant to say." All right, let me talk about that real quick. So we live in a pluralistic society. We have many different cultures living within our society. Sociologists have termed our society a melting pot. Others have termed it a salad bowl. However you see it, the truth is that because of popular media, because of music, movies, and the mall, just fashion in general, people are going to end up wearing the same thing, similar things, or variants of things from other cultures. Let me go ahead and put up a definition of cultural appropriation on the screen for those who are unaware of what it means. Cultural appropriation is the adoption or use of the elements of one culture by members of another culture. So when African Americans talk about cultural appropriation, in a sense, what they're saying is we can be a part, we can do these things in your culture and it's okay. And I'm going to show you later on in the comments where this individual says this. But when you take something that we're not even wearing, something that is from African culture, something that most of us largely reject as African Americans, I'm going to accuse you of cultural appropriation. Now, before we go any further, I have some images I'd like to put up on the screen. Let's go ahead and take a look at this. So let me ask you something. Are we being hypocritical when, look at her eyes on the left, blue eyes. Are we being hypocritical when we lay the charge of cultural appropriation to other cultures? Are we being a tad bit hypocritical? Maybe, just maybe. I mean, you look at your average rapper. Louis Vuitton, Versace, you name it. Any and every sort of high fashion from Europe, any sort of high fashion that you can find, they're wearing it. Okay, they're wearing it. Timberland boots, white American company. If you from the Northeast, a lot of people back in the day, back in the 90s, used to wear Carhartt, white company. Tommy Hilfiger, white company. Polo, white company. Even the cologne we wear, the watches, Cartier, Rolex, white companies. Yet others who wear a dashiki or some sort of cloth from Africa in a runway show, on the runway. Okay, we're not even talking about people wearing this out in the street. I don't see anyone wearing African cloth out in the street. Any white people doing that. This is a runway show. And these models very well could be modeling for an African designer who is trying to reach other people the same way Caucasian designers reached African markets with their goods. Here's an African designer or a person who's using African cloth attempting to reach a different market. Let's go back to that picture from before. Here we have a couple of three models who are simply doing their job. They're being paid to wear this, and I guarantee you they don't wear this outside of work. They're being paid to wear these cloths. No one is paying African American women to wear blonde weave. No one is paying African American hip hop stars to wear Versace and Gucci and to carry Gucci and Louis Vuitton bags and Cartier and Rolex watches. No one is paying them for this. It's not their job. It's their choice. They have adopted another culture. Some people might be quick to say, oh, but they're not. They're just wearing clothing. Well, what are these young ladies doing? What are these models doing? They're just wearing clothing. When's the last time you've seen a white person in public wearing a kente cloth or a dashiki? When's the last time you've seen a blonde black woman or a black person wearing a pair of Nikes or Reeboks, which are British, white company, or Pumas, German company, or Fila's, Italian company? Okay? You don't have to wear these things. You choose to. Here's an African American model. Same situation on the runway. Man, we can't have anything to ourselves. This is obviously, I made up this meme showing you the juxtaposition from the last picture. You have two white women and an Asian woman and wearing African cloth. Now here you have a black guy wearing European fashion. It's his job. He probably doesn't even wear this stuff outside of work, but maybe he does. The chance of him wearing this stuff outside of work is a lot greater for African Americans than it is for a white person to wear dashiki or kente cloth. A lot greater, or an Asian person to wear dashiki for that matter. So where do we come off accusing people of cultural appropriation? I mean, it just seems so silly when you think about it. We live in America. We're in a melting pot. People will adopt other cultures, whether it be music, fashion, speech, whatever it is. Let's take a look at this next clip. So in the thread on Facebook, I posted this meme countering the other meme. And, you know, the girl here says, white people do this to every culture, though. So what? So what? So it's admiration for fashion. And I'm sure those other cultures are more than willing to sell those products to Europeans for them to wear. I'm sure India would love to sell some saris, the female dresses, for people to wear. Why not? I'm sure Japan, someone in Japan would love to sell a kimono. Why not? But for some reason, when an African or a European decides to sell African cloth to people who are non-African, it's cultural appropriation. And we need to call Black Lives Matter, and we need to go march. Now, I have nothing against Black Lives Matter. I support Black Lives Matter, but this is the type of angst that it's causing. The girl then posts, "Are you saying this model is somehow guilty of something?" Do you see what I'm talking about? Do you see the hypocrisy? The other models weren't referred to as models, just people appropriating. The context of the picture, the context was stripped away, and all they saw was white faces and an Asian face. Matter of fact, they didn't even see the Asian person. And they just saw cultural appropriation. That's it. But here, no cultural appropriation is seen. He's a model now. Isn't that interesting? If you go down to her comment, she says, "Black people cannot appropriate culture because the very meaning of the word speaks of a dominant culture." Oh, interesting. Black people can't appropriate. They can't be racist. They can't make racist statements. What's next? They can't steal. Black people can't rape. Black people can't commit fraud. I mean, where does this end? Oh, yeah, white people stole from Africa. They're stealing from African governments. It's okay for us to steal. Is that the next argument? Oh, white people raped African slaves. We can rape. We can't rape. When we do it, it's not rape. Because you need to be in a position of power in order to rape. That's the logic of her argument. It's just complete hypocrisy and foolishness. And she alludes to some article that someone wrote on cultural appropriation. I didn't read it. I'm not going to read it. Anyone can write an article. I can write an article. It doesn't mean that article is correct. This is what I'm talking about. This is the sort of rabid hypocrisy that we have in African American culture.